How many times do you have to say no to the piece of cake? An infinite amount of times. How many times do you have to say yes? Once. If you exercise, your fitness will get better. Your body's capacity to move, to produce energy, to be stronger, all those things will get better if you exercise. That's what exercise is for. If you build the discipline of fitness, well, that doesn't just apply to fitness. You're actually a more disciplined person now, overall. Take care of yourself. Put the phone down. It's going to be okay. Never, never, never quit. Don't quit. And you will get there. If you want your body to change, what you need to change is your environment. End of story. Don't complicate this. It's fitness, not calculus, okay? Yo, literally, you probably can't see this, but this mic has like this bass, and I tried using it like the trackpad on the Mac there. It didn't work, as you could suspect. All right, we're ready to rock. Episode 22 coming at you. I like when things rhyme. You know, like I don't know if I said this, but when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be a rapper. That's right. I didn't think I was going to be like I wanted to be. I didn't actually think I'd do it. And I didn't. So there you go. Drink water. Could have done that before we started. That's for sure. Uh-oh. Got to get those screens right. Make sure we're recording. Episode 22. Build your fitness mindset. What it is. I'm going to keep these glasses handy just in case. The goal of this episode is to clear up some confusion around exercise and weight loss. Is that right? Yeah. I'm going to cover that in there a little bit. I mean, yeah, something in there about that. I got this all ready yesterday, and I thought it'd be fun just to like, you know, because normally I've worked on it today when I do the podcast, and I'm usually kind of putting some fast last minute touches here, so I kind of have some idea. I got to be honest. There's been so much happened yesterday from yesterday until now. Like, I don't even remember what we're talking about. I mean, I kind of do. Provide a mental framework for building fitness into your life. That's what we're talking about today. And we're going to have some fun. So we're going to provide that mental framework because I realized, you know, I've said this from the beginning. If you go to the website, there's like this promo video. I guess I did the air quotes. You can't see. Talking about, you know, like getting clarity and getting vision. I've said that a ton early on. Like this, the clearer something is in your mind, you know, it lowers anxiety and increases motivation. And so when you've got a mental framework around fitness and exercise that brings you clarity, well, you're going to be more apt to do it, more likely to go and do it. And that's the goal. Or improve what you're already doing, if that's your goal. Outline of topics. We got updates. One time I put my own little magic sounds on this. Before we get started, get a clear picture. Sorry, I'm making myself laugh. One step at a time. Keep it simple. Build the hill. Come on, man. Final thoughts. These buttons act funny sometimes. But that's the outline of topics we're going to get into today. But I'm really, like, distracted. These buttons act funny sometimes. Sometimes I'll be messing around with something in here in the studio. Yeah, that's cool. In the studio. And the Rodecaster Pro 2 will be on. And it'll just start hitting its own buttons, like for no reason. I'm off doing something over there on the table over there, working on something, and all of a sudden I'll hear people just start clapping. That's probably what it is. It just knows I'm being awesome, and it's like giving me some applause. That's got to be it. I don't know why I didn't think of that before I brought it up. Updates. We got golf again. I don't know if I'm going to talk about golf every time, but it was interesting. It was kind of like, you know, I'm starting to learn about golf. It's you know, there's bigger tournaments than others. You know what I mean? There's bigger weekends, you know. If you don't know, they play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They do the same course Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So they got different numbers on the different holes and stuff. And how do they do on Thursdays, you know, and all that other stuff. This is somewhat interesting. But they had a tie at the end. and these two guys had to play I think it was I don't remember which hole it was, but it was a par 5, and they had to play it. They tied the first they tied, and they had to go to a playoff. They tied it again, and they played it again. And the guy who ended up winning, his shot off the tee was straight up out of bounds, but it hit a tree and bounced inbounds, which if it would have landed out of bounds where it was, it was over. He would have had hit from the tee again, and he would have lost the hole for sure. But it actually bounced inbounds. Total luck. Ends up winning the hole, winning the tournament. Good for that guy. I have no idea who it was. The only name that I know is Scheffler. I can't even think of his first name right now. Anyways, that's enough on golf. Weather is cold. I need a cold button. But not as cold. Today was 55 and sunny, if you can believe that. We have a question. I had everything put together. I had the whole podcast laid out and ready to go, and it dawned on me that I hadn't actually checked to see if there were any questions coming in, and one had actually come in back in January. Yikes. I was getting some junk email, so I kind of, I don't know. It just slipped my mind. I'm trying to do way too much right now, and it slipped my mind. But anyways, we're going to get to that question next week. You know who you are? You sent that back in January, and we're going to get it. It's a good question, too. I'm kind of excited to answer it. Subscriber update. Email. Same. I'm going to do a wah-wah. YouTube, 87 to 92. There we go. That YouTube's steady growing. It needs to go like 92 to 202. Looking forward to that day. Spotify, 22 to 23. Give a little magic chime. And Apple stays the same. No movement on the Apple. People not like Apple? I don't know. Reminder, please submit your questions to dennis@dennisfenrich.com. All right, a couple things before we get started. I feel like we are getting started, but before we kind of get started, I want to preface some stuff. Exercise is not for weight loss. And, this occurred to me, I don't even know, man, 7-8 years ago. It was just like, because coming out of the 90s, and I've said this before, coming out of the 90s is when, people started putting on weight, the obesity epidemic, we started seeing all this weight gain, and the solution that was given at the time, a very simplistic one, which was you need to exercise to burn calories to lose weight. And that's what everybody was trying to do. And it didn't work, obviously, because people kept gaining weight. And being a professional in our industry, like, you just saw it too. Just because you worked out didn't mean you were going to lose weight. Like, you came to realize that really quick. Some people did. I remember one guy, 3 days a week, 5:30 in the morning, I was training him. And, he lost like 40 pounds just by exercising, changed nothing else. Worked for him, but it didn't work like that. 1 out of 10, maybe you'd see that happen. So there was something going on outside of that. There still needs to be, honestly. You got to take fitness and nutrition into account and do them both, relatively well to get the result. If you're going to actually get the result. I like to say this. Have you ever seen anybody eat like a bodybuilder who didn't lose weight? I've never seen it happen. If you eat 6 meals a day, get your proteins, your carbs, and your fats and your vegetables lined up, and you do that 6 times a day, you will lose weight. I just want to take it back. You will lose weight. I can't guarantee that. Nobody's going to guarantee that, but I've never seen it not work. The challenge of that is being that disciplined, going from not disciplined with your nutrition to being that disciplined. That's the challenge, but that definitely works. So anyways, that's what was going on. Everybody was trying to exercise to lose weight. And about 7 years ago, it just dawned on me, like, this is a terrible idea, because what happens if you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm 30 pounds overweight. I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm going to go join this exercise program and I'm going to start working out, and you're doing the thing and you get on the scale 6 weeks later and it didn't go down. Or even more demotivating, it went up. What is that going to lead you to conclude? That's going to lead you to conclude that the exercise program doesn't work. If exercise equals weight loss because of calorie expenditure, and you're doing an exercise program and you don't lose weight or even gain it, the logical conclusion is the exercise program doesn't work. But guess what? That's the wrong metric. The scale for your exercise program is the wrong metric. The metric for your exercise program is your fitness getting better, because guaranteed, if you exercise, your fitness will get better. Your body's capacity to move, to produce energy, to be stronger, all those things will get better if you exercise. That's what exercise is for. We have to separate those two. And I think, generally speaking, people are starting to get that, but a ton of people still do not think that way. They still think like, I'm going to go jump on the elliptical for an hour every day, and this is my weight loss program. And it's just, might work. I've seen it work, but there's no guarantee that it's going to work. But exercise does guarantee fitness improvement. That's what it does, because you got DNA, and DNA does what DNA does for everybody. It adapts, all right? My screen just turned off here. Let me make sure. All right, we're recording. All right. Did I get everything in on there? Yeah, so we exercise. So you want to separate those two things. If you still think what we just talked about, you want to change that. You want to change it to, all right, I'm going to do an exercise program so I can improve my fitness, and I'm going to do a nutrition program, or I'm going to change the way I eat to manage my weight or guide my weight, right? But we're not going to use exercise as a weight loss tool. It's not a good tool for that. It's an inconsistent tool for that. It's a crapshoot. Excuse me if you know what craps is. I used to be a craps dealer back in the day. Also, before we get started, I want to point out it's the environment. It's the environment. And I think I basically covered that a little bit. But DNA, what you need to change, if you want your body to change, what you need to change is your environment. End of story, right? And so your environment is everything that you're in. It's how much you move in a day. It's the air that you're exposed to. It's the movement that you're exposed to. Are you exposed to picking up heavy things? Because if you have that in your environment, your body's going to get stronger. Are you having to produce a lot of energy because of activity? If that's your environment, then your body's going to adapt to produce more energy. Okay, so your environment is determining the current physical condition of your body, and so in order to change that, you have to change your environment. Logical. Changing the environment changes your body. All right, so that was before we get started. Let's get into this. So again, I'm gonna try and set a mental framework for somebody to think about health and fitness, so it becomes easier for them to apply or go do health and fitness. Okay. Now, if you're already health and fitness and fantastic, you're beyond the intermediate or the beginner level, you're into the intermediate, maybe you're advanced, you need to work on what you're going to work on. We'll cover some stuff in here, I think, maybe, or maybe you need to adjust your mental framework a little bit. I don't know, but hopefully you can get something out of this as well. Right now, we're trying to talk to people that really don't even know how to think about they don't even know how to build it into their life, right? And they don't even know how to think about it in order to be able to build it into their life. And so we're going to try and give a little mental framework for that. And I've got 3 different options, or 3 different ways you can think about it. And one of them we're going to open up on a lot. All right. So think clearly about how to build fitness into your life. Clarity lowers anxiety and increases motivation. I already covered that. All right. So we got these 3 mental frameworks. Where did I list them? Healthy people. Oh, yeah. So one I like to share, and it's super simple, and this does help a ton of people, is healthy people do 2 things. Don't complicate it. Healthy people, they exercise, they move regularly 4+ days or more a week, kind of a minimum of 3, but if you're doing like a 3-day-a-week strength and conditioning program, you should probably get out and walk another 4th. And that's really going to help tilt the scale, right? Because you're going from, 3 days of activity, 4 days of inactivity, or 4 days of activity and 3 days of inactivity. And that's a big shift. 3 to 4 is a 33% increase. The 4 to 3 is a 25% decrease. So that creates a really big shift just going from the 3 to the 4. So healthy people do 2 things. They exercise 4 days a week, and they shop and cook and eat their own food, right? They get those 2 things in place, built into their lives, and you're basically living a healthy lifestyle at that point. Obviously, you get the, hey, I can go eat a McDonald's, or I can go get a burger, or I can go, I said 2 burgers basically, or I can, eat lasagna. I can have a cheat meal. I don't ever use that terminology, but I just did. Don't use that terminology. It's terrible. You're just eating what you want to eat on that day. That's what you're doing. But most of the time, they're going to cook and prepare their own foods. They're going to go shop. They're going to cook, and then they're going to eat their own foods. And that's basically what healthy people do. So it's a very simple framework to simplify it in your mind, right? It's not this big puzzle of all these things you need to figure out. You just need to start exercising and then eventually working some nutrition as well. And all this takes time. You just build it in one thing at a time. We're going to talk about that. All right. What was the other one, man? Did I not put it on here? Get an education in fitness associate. Oh, yeah. So another way to think about fitness, if you've got a college background, if you did the college thing and you're like, all right, I got my associates, I got my bachelor's, and maybe I went on and got my master's, that's already got a framework in your brain that of a process that you've already gone through. And you can take that same thinking, that same outline, that same framework and apply it to fitness and say, you know what? Let me break some news to you. There are no 90-day transformations, okay? So there's no 6-week challenges don't change anybody, okay? I don't know if I told the story on this, but I did the very first physique transformation challenge back in 1997. I'm not making this up, true story. Very first one, company called EAS. They had the marketing for it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do that. You had 3 months. You took before pictures. You took after pictures. You had to write, I don't know what they call it. They call it an essay or something. I don't know what they call it. You had to write like 500 words talking about your experience or why you think you should be crowned the champion. And tons of people, there was tens of thousands of people who did this thing. Excuse me. And I finished it, which was great. Man, I got some results, but I didn't come close to winning. I mean, I didn't really know how comparative, how close it was. But there was 10 finalists. They went out to the company in Colorado. There was this big thing around it. It was a ton of marketing. It was great. They did send me a certificate and a letter. And the letter said, and here's what always stuck with me. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. You did the hard thing, all this other stuff. 90% of people didn't finish the challenge. 90%. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. 10% did, 90% didn't. But yet that physique transformation challenge, if you guys remember, if you've been in fitness for more than 10 years, because it kind of did start to fade away, that was all gym marketing was here's somebody who we changed in 6 weeks or 90 days. They came to our program. Here's the results. You still see it. You still see before and after pictures everywhere. That all stemmed from that EAS, the 1997 EAS Physique Transformation Challenge, because that's what it was called. That all that marketing stemmed from that. Everything you've seen after that was because that was the first one to do it, and it went crazy. You know what just blew my mind? 90% of people quit. 90% of people quit. So how in the world is that good marketing, right? That's marketing that says, hey, we want to get people in our gym. We already know 90% of you are going to quit, but that doesn't really matter. We want to get you on our doors. So that's what we're doing. And I'm ashamed to be part of the fitness industry for that. I'm not ashamed to be part of the fitness industry. I'm ashamed that the fitness industry acted like that, but there are plenty gym brands that rely on you not showing up and paying them every month. Okay. Hopefully they stop doing that someday. So, man, that was a tangent. Oh, yeah. So back to get your, wow, that really was a tangent. So you can get this mental framework of if you've gone to college, and if you haven't, you can still understand this. Hey, I realize, Dennis, it's not a 90-day transformation. I know there are no 90-day transformations. That's bull puckies. And what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to understand that I can go get my associates in fitness or my bachelor's in fitness. I can learn how to exercise. I can commit to 2 years of, hey, you know what? I'm going to show up 3 to 4 days a week to the gym for 2 years. And I understand that this is what it really takes. And so since I want this, like I wanted my degree so I could go get my job, I want fitness so that when I'm 30 or 40 or 20, I've got this thing figured out and I've got that degree. I've got my associates or bachelor's in fitness for the rest of my life, right? Like I'm willing to commit a solid focused 2 to 4 years to get it figured out. I think it's a great way to think about it. And that's kind of those are two real good frameworks that can kind of help you start to lower that anxiety, lower that confusion around fitness and exercise, and increase your motivation. And so I want to talk a little bit more about another way to look at it and how I started to break down, or what I thought was a logical approach to taking this big thing on called living a healthy lifestyle, right? Like, what was a good progression? What was a realistic time? What were realistic time frames? What should people be focusing on in that phase or step of what they're doing? And I broke it down into 3 steps. Step 1 was, or is, learn how to exercise. Just learn how to exercise, right? Learn how to get yourself there. Learn how to strength train. Learn how to do mobility work. Learn how to pace yourself when you're doing conditioning work. Learn how to maybe incorporate some recovery strategies. Learn how, and if you're not going to the gym and that's your challenge, you need to learn how to get to the gym. You need to learn how to exercise regularly. That's step 1 of your associate's degree. That's step 1 or phase 1 of what you need to get figured out. And realistically, it's 6 to 18 months, 6 to 24 months, maybe 12 to 24 months, but it's not that long. Like 2 years of your life to have something that is ingrained in you and now you've got it. Like, you learn how to ride a bike, right? You still know how to ride that bike, don't you? Right? Yeah. Because it changes, it gets built into your nervous system, it gets built into your physiology, and now it's not this challenging, anxiety-provoking, I don't feel like a thing anymore. I mean, you may not want to love it and do it all the time, but you go to your job, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Well, you brush your teeth, right? Yeah. Okay. But focus on it. Make it a priority. So I figured step 1, 6 to 24 months, 6 to 18 months, was get exercise built into your life. Step 2, once you've got that done and you've got your little associates, I shouldn't say little, you got your associates, then you move on. I'm going to get my bachelor's. What's step 2? Step 2 is nutrition. Okay, now I'm going to start focusing on my nutrition, right? And what do I need to get in place there? Do I need to start with this tracking thing? Or maybe I should change my food environment? Or maybe I should try and get more protein? Or maybe I should cut out pop? Or maybe I should stop eating after 6 o'clock at night and try some time restricted stuff? I'm going to start learning how to do this nutrition thing. And you know what? It's not going to take 6 weeks. It's not going to take 90 days. It's going to take 6 to 18 to 24 months. But you know what? I got it for the rest of my life. I don't like cutting this clapping off short, because I can start and stop and watch. See what I'm saying? Or I can just let it run, but it runs a little too long sometimes. So I got to cut it off. What's phase 3? You got phase 2 knocked out, got focused a couple years. You got, I say phase 1. Phase 1 knocked out, you got focused a couple years, figured out how to exercise, pretty consistent with that, got it locked in. Working on phase 2, nutrition, got phase 2. Ooh, a little more challenging maybe for some of us, right? Ooh, getting yourself to go to the gym, it's like a, that's kind of a moment, and you make the right decision, and boom, you do it, and you make the right decision, boom. You learn how to, in those moments when you don't feel like it, you've learned how to get yourself to go. Okay, it's kind of like a binary thing. And nutrition's like all kind of stuff going on there. You got, where were you at the family? Were you at the party? What's going on there? What do you got in your house? What happened at the office? We talked about this before. So nutrition is a little bit harder to navigate. But you know what? If you build the discipline of fitness, well, that doesn't just apply to fitness. You're actually a more disciplined person now overall. And now you can maybe start to take on that nutrition. Okay? Maybe you do that and you get that figured out. Maybe that takes a little longer. Maybe fitness was like 12 months and you kind of had it and you were ready to go and you got it after nutrition. Took a little longer. Maybe that one actually took 2 years to kind of get it solidly in place. So you're 3 years into this thing. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man. What comes after this? I want to go on and get my master's. Master's, in my opinion, would be going on and learning how to take on stress, how to manage your stress, how to not just, people think that they just need to learn how to lower their stress. And some people do need to learn how to lower their stress. Don't get me wrong. But managing your stress isn't just getting it down. It's learning how to get it up. When I need to exercise, if I'm going out for the night, I want to have a good time. Am I in a funk mood and my friends are making me come out? Hey, I don't want to be like this. How am I going to manage my stress? How am I going to get excited right now so I can go do and be who I want to be when I'm going and doing it, right? So it's not just controlling or dampening your stress all the time. It's learning how to bring it down or bring it up as you need, as the context requires it, right? And so you learn how to breathe and you learn how to connect with people. You learn how to improve your sleep. And that's kind of where you're going to start working on your master's. And I think the PhD would just be like, I learned how to do all this stuff. This absolutely changed my life. I learned how to take care of my body. I got these things in place. And now what? You know what? I'm going to go out. I want to teach other people. I want to take it to the next level. And to me, that sounds like a pretty amazing thing to do. So if somebody were going to take that on, they're like, you know what? You got me all kind of fired up over here, Dennis. I'm going to do this. I'm going to write these things down you're saying. I'm going to get ahead of myself. Here's some tips I got for you, all right? Here's some tips. One step at a time, man. One step at a time. One phase of that, do this exercise for nutrition, do that one at a time. But also within that framework there, you want to take on one habit at a time, maybe two. But if you're new to the game, one. If you're not getting to the gym, habit number one is I got to figure out how to get to myself to the gym. I'm going to get to the gym 3 times this week, 4 times this week, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's 2 times. Well, I'm getting too much detail here. But one thing. Get to that gym. And I'm going to figure out how to get myself to that gym. And I'm going to start Monday's day 1. And then the next week, how did I do? Did I get there? Oh, man, I got there 3 days. Fantastic. I'm awesome. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it. Week 4, I missed. Oh, man, I suck. I should quit. No. Go again. Start again. Build it again. You got 2 years to get it. You're going to get it. Stay consistent. Stay in the fight. It's going to be a fight. Your brain, consciousness is a complicated thing, and you got to learn how to navigate it. So step 1, one step at a time. Pick one thing. Exercise is the foundation of it. What else I got in here? Exercise is the foundation of a healthy lifestyle. Each step solidly in place before trying to take on more. That's one of my biggest tips. Get your framework set and then take one thing on at a time. And know it's going to be a fight, guys. If depending on where you are in this process, right? Because plenty of you, I'm sure, are listening to this. You got the exercise, but you're not quite taking on that nutrition, right? And you're like, man, I got to do this thing. And I gave 3. The nutrition podcast came out pretty good. It hadn't really occurred to me about lining up people's nutritional approach with their experience level or their capacity, right? Saying, hey, let's keep it super simple. Let's keep it binary. Let's keep it a yes or a no for somebody who's never really tackled nutrition before, because it just simplifies it. Because your physiology is going to convince you that you need to eat. There's all kinds of stuff. A good way to think about this, if you got a piece of cake in your fridge, how many times do you have to say no to the piece of cake? How many times do you have to say no to the piece of cake? An infinite amount of times. How many times do you have to say yes? Once. And then I don't want to say it like this, but you're lost, right? Like you're in a battle with that piece of cake in the fridge and it's talking to you, and you told it no 1,000 times. You told it no 1,000 times, didn't even realize that some of them you knew for sure. But then that one time, bam, man. So what am I trying to say there? I'm trying to say that the fight is constant and it only takes one little slip up. You know what I mean? So nutrition is tough, man. That's why I think based on your experience level, you should match what you're trying to do in your nutrition. Your biology wants to excuse me. Sorry, guys. Give me a second here. Nathan probably cut that out. So you don't even know. You probably even know that I said Nathan cut that out. We'll see what he does with that little gem right there. Okay. Keep it simple. Maybe you've already got fitness down. It's pretty easy for you. But you need to start taking on that nutrition. Try and match your nutrition approach. Go back to podcast 17 if you missed it, episode 17 if you missed it, and try and match your nutritional approach based on your experience level, okay? I think I was going to break those down, but it is in another episode already, all right? I'm actually going to write about it too. I thought it would be great to bring that out in more detail. All right, keep it simple. On to the next topic here. Keep it simple. One new habit. I kind of already covered this, but I did want to bring this up. Okay, so there was a thing going around for a long, long time. It takes 21 days to create a new habit. Pretty much already bashed that, right? Like, no, it doesn't. Because if that was the case, then a 6-week challenge definitely got you past 21 days and you're good to go. But you ain't. Neither is 90, okay? And I read a book by a fella named Ray Dalio, and he owned a big investment. I think it's called a hedge fund. People give him money and then he invests it and grows their money. His company, the hedge fund, or I don't know, it was an investment firm. I think is what it's called, Bridgewater Associates. But he had $120 billion in people's money that he was growing, him and his team and whatever, and all the employees that he had there. And they had a unique culture because he created these core values. He had core values, and one of the core values was radical transparency. I'm telling all of this for a reason. Radical transparency. And so basically, you never lied. It didn't matter if you were brand new in the company and you were talking to Ray himself or one of the big dogs at the top. You were always honest and you said what you thought. And it was radical transparency. There was no, you can't say these things, or you can't say, you can't say, and you could say whatever the heck you wanted, basically, without being a jerk, obviously. And what he observed through, running his company like this for 30 years or however long they've been in business is that either people would get like shot right out of that environment. Like they just couldn't handle all the radical transparency, right? It made them uncomfortable and they were just, boom, they're going to quit and they're gone. Or they would hang in there. And what he observed was it took roughly around 18 months for a new person to get acclimated to that new environment and learn how to operate in it and be comfortable in it and feel good about it. And so that always stuck with me because I kind of observed the same thing. And that's why when I picked these steps, I was like, 6 to 18 months, 18 months being the top if you didn't have any experience level, because it's going to take you about 18 months to get adjusted to these new habits and these new behaviors and this new way of thinking. So I wanted to point that out. 21 days is a joke. It's going to take longer than that, but that's okay because you want to be somebody that takes care of themselves anyways. And what else are you going to do? Like thumb around on your phone? That's fine, but man, if you got an hour, go work out if you want to work out. Or do a meal prep. Go grocery shop, right? Take care of yourself. Just put the phone down. It's going to be okay. Example, 3 days a week. Oh, so I had a couple. I already ran through these basically, but I was just like shooting my mouth off. So a couple examples of like keeping it simple and taking one day at a time would be, starting off at 3 days a week. Another one with nutrition is interesting. I talk a lot about changing your food environment. I think, you got three approaches when it comes to nutrition. You can do a very binary approach. I'm going to not drink pop, no pop, or bam, and that's out. Or no sweets. I'm just going to say no. There's no option outside of that. Or you could do a fasting approach, right? I'm going to only eat for a 6-hour window every day. That's all I get to do. Anytime outside of that, I don't get to eat. That's a binary approach too, right? It's on or off. Secondary, you can do control your food environment, right? I'm going to get all the foods out of my house that I don't want to eat. I'm going to put foods in my house that I should be eating. I'm going to make sure whatever environment I'm in, it's got foods that I should be consuming. But there's a third approach and a third way to start to tackle nutrition. I think it's probably the most advanced way because what it's going to do is it's not going to give you any yes or no's basically. And you're going to have to just continually decide what's the right thing to do at the right time. But there is a way to do it. It's basically, so you can build yourself into a macros style of eating. And the steps to that would be, first you track and you don't do anything else. You just track what you eat. Second, you adjust your protein intake. So you're tracking, 2, 3, 4 weeks, get in the habit of tracking. Then you start looking at the numbers. You go, okay, looks like I'm only getting in, half of the amount of protein I need to eat. So and I recommend starting with protein because protein can have the biggest impact on, how you feel and weight and all that other stuff. So I'm going to start getting enough protein in. And when you get the habits of getting enough protein in, then I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is controlling the total calories that I'm getting in. Maybe I don't eat enough. Maybe I ate too much. I'm going to have to control that and learn how to regulate that. And the next step would be to adjust my fats and carbs. If you get those things in place and you eat enough vegetables, I don't know how you don't lose weight. I really don't. But again, it's building it in one step at a time. It wasn't radically changing everything. Depending on your skill level, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced with your nutrition, it's going to kind of determine what makes sense for you. Figure that out. Overwhelm is real. Okay? So why do I say that? If you're building yourself up and you've been tracking and you're onto the protein and then you're controlling your calories and then you start to feel overwhelmed about everything, it feels like too much, then you just need to back it down. When you're overwhelmed, it will stop your action. If you've got too much going on and you're trying to take on too much, it's going to shut you down. That's what the word overwhelm means. That means I have been overwhelmed. You're not overwhelmed if you're still doing the things that you need to be doing, right? So when you become overwhelmed, don't quit. back it down to where you weren't overwhelmed, and you need to get that built in a little bit. It's still taking too much attention and too much energy for you to take on something else. So you're getting overwhelmed, right? Like anytime you change anything, this is a great example. When you go from not working out to working out, you're like, all right, I'm not working out and I'm going to work out 3 days a week. That sounds like you're changing one thing. I'm not working out, I'm going to working out. That is not what you are changing. You are changing 1,000 different things when you do that, right? Like, do you have a family? They're going to have to adjust to that. Your work schedule, are you getting up earlier? How do you feel after? When are you going to shower? Are you getting tired? Do you need to eat, right? All these things are going to change from that one decision, and people don't really think about that, and they're like, I'm going to do it, and then they don't realize all the stuff that was going to change. That's why you do one thing at a time. But anyways, back it down to where, again, it doesn't take as much energy, right? When you make those changes, there's going to be an energy and an attention demand put on you that if you try and change too much, it's going to be overwhelming. Hopefully I'm making my point on this. But what you never do is you never quit. You never say, I'm not working out, or I'm done with nutrition. I just can't do it. This is just who I am. No. If this is just who you are, your conscious wouldn't be talking to you about doing something different. Okay. Who you are is out there in the future, and you need to listen to your conscious when it's telling you what you need to work on, and then you just keep working on it until you get it. You just keep working on it until you get it. Yeah, I wanted to read 3 years ago. I wanted to read an hour every day on average, an hour every day. It took me 2 months before I did it for the first time. Okay, why? Because I knew it was going to take some changes, some attention. Overwhelm was real. Back it down and no quitting. It's fitness. Don't complicate this. It's fitness, not calculus. Okay? If you're feeling like you're overwhelmed with all, man, no big deal. All I'm trying to do is exercise and learn how to eat right. And it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Simplify it in your mind. Show up, work out, go home. If you're struggling with fitness. If you're struggling with nutrition, stop whining. No, I'm just kidding. Figure it out. Get a coach. Keep working on it. All right, last little concept. Now we're going to get into some final thoughts here. Build your hill. Okay, so you've got the framework, right? You're like, oh man, I'm getting my bachelor's, or I'm going to go through these phases and these steps, right? I got this framework in my mind. I'm going to be a healthy person. All they do is exercise and cook and eat their own foods, man. I'm going to do this. Great. You are going to do it, okay? And you got things going, and you got your rhythm down, and you're exercising, and it's part of your life. Now what are you doing? Now you're building your hill. You want to build your hill of fitness. And what do I mean by that is, everybody's got this arc in their life, right? You're born and, you can't do much. And then as time goes by, you can do more, and you have this capacity in your body, and then it arcs out. And over time, at some point, party's over for all of us. Nobody gets out of here alive. So there's an arc. What you want to do is you want to build that arc up. You want the hill to be high and last a long time. The hill being your fitness, right? The higher your fitness level, the longer your body is going to function, right? If you're 40 and your strength starts to decline, well, the arc's not very big. If you're 60 when your strength starts to decline, or 50 when your strength starts to decline, or you built your strength way higher than it would have been otherwise, you just had this much larger arch arch, same thing. Could be Noah's Ark if it's upside down. I don't even know why that's a joke. It's not. You got this arc, and you're just trying to make that as big as you can. For your math people out there, area under the curve, right? And so the higher your fitness level, the longer your body's going to function, the better you're going to feel throughout your life. You can work really, really well into your 60s and your 70s and hopefully into your 80s. And you kind of do that. But if you don't ever build the hill, you don't get to experience that. So again, get the framework, build these things into your life, and then build that hill as high as you can. And remember, you don't want to get so much fitness now that you lose fitness later, right? Destroying your joints along the way is really going to detract from your fitness when you're 60. I promise you that. What else we got on here? Build your hill. No 90-day transformations, already covered that. Patience and consistency is your friend, right? Just stay patient. Don't be in a hurry. Stay consistent with the activity. Stay consistent with eating right, and it's going to pay off. Transient versus physiological adaptations. 90-day transformation, 6-week challenges, they create a transient adaptation. That means that your nervous system, your energy systems, they get adapted temporarily to do what you're trying to do, but they don't actually start to build biological adaptation down into your bones and your tissues and all that stuff. That takes time. So through this consistency, it's how you're going to build the hill. You're going to get these physiological adaptations, not just these temporary adaptations through your consistent effort. Okay? All right. Let's wrap this thing up. I think I'm losing my voice. Final thoughts. I've said a million times, build your mental framework, okay? Get this thing clear in your head, who you want to be and what it looks like. What's a realistic expectation on these time frames? Build it in your mind. You have to. Stay patient, stay consistent, stay with it. It's going to be good days and bad days. It's not a big deal. It's the trajectory that you're on that matters. That hill going up. If you get discouraged / overwhelmed, which will happen, get your picture clear again. Maybe you don't have that picture clearly in your mind anymore. And so now that anxiety is kind of building up and you're getting demotivated. Maybe you need to take a day and relax yourself, get unoverwhelmed, and get that back in your mind, right? See it clearly again. Make adjustments if needed, right? Back it down. Maybe you tried taking on too much too soon. You need to back it down. But never quit. Don't quit. And you will get there. All right, guys. Next episode, special interview with my friend Taylor. We're going to do it. I got the mic. We got the extra set of headphones. I think we're going to headphone it. And I don't know what we're doing about the camera because I'm going to have to use my iPhone because I just wasn't going to spend $1,500 on another camera for one interview. But I did spend some money on the mic. We need another mic. So T-Wit, Taylor is going to be coming on. She's type 1 diabetic, diagnosed later in her life. I think she was 12 or 13 later in her life. That's still early, but it's not. She wasn't born that way. And I think it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to asking her some questions and seeing about that history, and it's going to be a good time. Help us grow. Like and subscribe on the YouTubes. That's the main place where we're trying to grow. And submit your questions to dennis@dennisfenners.com. All right, y'all. We will see ya at the movies. No, we won't. We'll see you at the YouTubes. All right, guys. Have a great week. Bye.